right. So, for the last month plus, we've been living out of our car and playing disc golf. We made the trip from starting in Fraser, Colorado, and now we are in close to Monticello, Illinois. And that took us about just over a month to do that. It was about 2,200 miles of driving. If you look up on Google Maps, it is not going to be the same because obviously to do that we had to find places to stay. Most of the time we were camping in like camping sites where we'd probably pay like 10, 15 bucks a night, or a lot of the times. Yeah, a lot of the times we didn't have to pay anything, which was really nice.
We paid for gas.
We definitely paid for gas. Because now it's, for a good chunk of the, well, gas has been about like $4.80-ish to $5. Now it's definitely $5. So this is definitely a expensive time to travel. And we also have a bit of a gas guzzler, which I think is actually a pretty decent car for what we're doing.
Yeah.
Especially since we had 3 people, 2 of us plus Natalie for the first till now. But yeah, certainly took a chunk of money. Yeah, so I think I just thought it would be interesting to kind of tell you how it went and give you some ideas about what it's like, what you can expect. Yeah, so we've been kind of thinking about maybe doing this for 9 months at this point. Because we were thinking about it right before the start of winter. We started thinking about, or even maybe the end of in the fall sometime.
The fall, yeah.
We started thinking about it as a possibility.
I think pretty quickly we realized what would we do if we didn't?
Yeah. Because last year, so for a bit of background, we started about a year ago right now.
Yeah.
And quickly really started enjoying disc golf. We were playing pretty much every day, if we could, multiple times a day. And we were traveling a lot during last summer as well.
Yeah.
But that was definitely, I would say, one of the biggest things we spent our time on was really just playing disc golf, and that was one of our favorite things to do. So I think we knew that we would definitely want to make disc golf probably the center of what we did this summer. And yeah, we can definitely do that living just one place and playing courses around us and maybe traveling every once in a while to go somewhere else. But I think we both felt like we weren't tied down by a lease or anything. So why not just go trip and just play? So then a couple months before so we're ski instructors in the winter. Doug is a ski patroller. He used to be a ski instructor. I'm a ski instructor. So we both work at resorts, the same resort, Winter Park and Fraser. Well, Winter Park actually. And so we were both really kind of working hard to get as much money as we could during that time so that we could hopefully survive for as long as possible through the summer. And so that was kind of, at least that was my focus during this winter, was do what I have to do to make this summer possible. And then we finished April 24th, I think. And then we were in Colorado for about a month. Left about the beginning of June. And then started out, we went to Boulder, then past Boulder to Optimism and Pessimist parks in Colorado. There we were parked and we were camping there for 3 or 4 days. Yeah. That's when we first, well, that's about the only story we were talking about before the video, and that's probably about the only stories worth telling. So, all revolved around our good buddy, basket. One day I think it was the first night we camped there.
Second.
Second. Yeah, second night we camped there. We were tent camping, so we just set up next to the lake and we decided we're gonna go play. And so we put the basket on top of one of our tents, my tent. I packed his tent up because it's nice. And we were like, probably no one's gonna bother. So we went, played disc golf, came back, basket was gone. We're like, oh, great. We ended up obviously weren't too happy about that. We saw some tracks coming in, right up to where the basket was. And then the great fun part was that since they took the basket, our tent had blown all over the place.
We checked to see if the basket had perhaps rolled into the lake nearby and maybe possibly floated away.
Yeah, which is,
as it's metal, so it probably floats.
There's a good chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. That could be foreshadowing. Who knows? That's for you, viewer, to figure out. So, drove around, 20 minutes or something. Did not see anything. Came back, tried looking at the treads, went for another lap, trying to figure out that vehicle. Nah, too normal treads. Yeah. And your vehicle, nah, too big of treads.
Those treads look like they have morals.
They look like they have at least some morals.
Yeah.
Could not find it. So we pretty much gave up on the fact that on the first or second night of our trip we had lost our basket, and so we're now going to be stuck doing nothing and having no fun whenever we were at a campsite. So bummer. We went to. Did we even go yet? No, we hadn't. I don't think we went. No, we didn't go yet to play the next day. So the next day, Natalie and I drove over to the restroom, which was the little porta potty, which was quarter mile away, just because we're athletes and we like exercising, just because it's good for us. And we drove past this big old camper, and
big new camper,
expensive camper, and lo and behold, our basket sitting out in front. Like, oh, what's going on there? So we went to the bathroom, tried to look at it a little bit closer to see, is this actually our basket? Because, well, one of a kind, it's not technically one of a kind, so we want to make sure this is probably actually ours. I was pretty confident it was, so we went back and picked up Doug. Then we went there, and then we actually looked at the basket, and
knocked
on the door, no one there. And so we went to their next door neighbors that were 100 feet down the side of the lake, and asked them, did they know those people? And they're like, yeah, we know those people. So they called them and talked to them a little bit, and they're kind of giggling and laughing a little bit, like, interesting. And they said, what was it? Oh, yeah, so funny as it is, this metal disc basket happened to roll up on their beach, on their shore. Float. It didn't roll. It floated. Which, interestingly enough, is probably a mile around the edge.
Like that?
Because I'm not going to try to draw a diagram, it's not going to work, but the peninsula, to get to it from water, very far. Also, I think we might have mentioned it, but just in case, this is metal.
Solid.
It's made out of metal. Probably doesn't float very well. But anyway, so we're like, cool. Okay. So we took the basket and went home. Went and played disc golf. I think that was it. That one? Anyway, we played disc golf, came back, and Natalie wrote them a letter, because these people obviously...
No, we talked to them first. And then...
Did we?
Yeah.
No, I think...
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. So, yeah, Natalie wrote a letter to them, because they were parents as well. We could see all their kids like play stuff, and then when we showed up, they had their kids there. They were like 3 and 4, something like that. And
good age for learning kind of light trades.
yeah, so we're kind of like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that. Maybe, well, I don't think we said that. I think we said, hopefully that they get to a point in their lives where that thievery is not what they need to make themselves be fulfilled. But we showed up there being the very non-confrontational, non-aggressive people that we are. We talked to the guy, had a very civil conversation with him. He was definitely a little bit nervous, because I don't know if you can tell, but we're like roughly 7 foot tall humans, very muscular.
Yeah.
So very intimidating to most people, I would say. But yeah, I did not confront him about it at all. He was like, "Oh yeah, so turns out, yeah, the other day we were just driving along at this campsite, which is not even close to where we are, and turns out there was a basket sitting out there. So we were like, hey, we're gonna pick this up because we don't want someone, an absolute scumbag, to just steal it, because that would be horrible. That would just make those people probably really sad. So he picked it up and put it next to his camper. Behind his camper. Yeah.
So it wasn't super visible.
It wasn't super visible. It was definitely a little bit hidden. And he's gonna take it to the camp host. Steve. And he's like, yeah, Steve. You know Steve.
Who doesn't know Steve?
He doesn't know Steve. But it must have probably slipped his mind, because I'm sure he really cared and wanted to get back to us, but kind of wanted to wait a day just in case. I don't know. So it didn't go back to him the day of, wait, the next day, but I'm sure that day he would have given it to Steve, for sure.
Yeah.
So we left, being the cowards that we are, did not confront him, weren't saying anything about it. We were just really wanting to get out of that situation and not have to talk about that to that guy and confront him that he was actually just completely lying to us in front of his family, more or less. But the next day, that was the last day we were going to be there. So we decided we're not going to completely just like let this guy off the hook. We're going to stick that note onto his car. So after we packed up and we're heading out, we took the note and put it on his mirror on his truck. So who knows? Seeing as that is the least confrontational way possible of delivering a note, he might have driven off and never seen that. One of his kids might have found it. It's impossible to say. If you are that guy, comment below. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think at that moment I realized that was about the best way that could have possibly gone. Like, we got our thing stolen, got it back. And I think, for me, that was a very, I think if someone's going to steal, I don't know. I guess I don't expect people to steal. And if they are, I guess I expect it to be someone that doesn't have a ton of money. They clearly had a ton of money. They had a really nice new camper and 3 cars that were sitting around there. They do not need the $170 or whatever this costs. 120, even less.
Yeah.
So I think at that point I started being very careful. We made the rule that whenever we leave the car, we were going to always lock it up. And because as annoying as it was to get $120 stolen from us, it could have been way worse. I mean, I had my computer sitting in the car, and we had all of our possessions sitting in the car. So probably that wouldn't have happened again, but lesson learned, I guess, for me at least. Kind of felt like it's a bit of a sign. I'm just going to be careful. Yeah, so then after that, after we got done with optimist and pessimist, where are we next? Pioneer Park?
Sure.
I think so. Then moved on to... I don't think this is actually that interesting, probably. I can tell Doug's falling asleep, so I would guess you guys are probably falling asleep as well if there were any of you left. Which, hey, Probably just us talking to ourselves, like normal. So some other, besides our just mundane trip to trip takeaways, food. So I've been talking most of the time. Food. So.
Food. Food was a challenge,
Mm-hmm.
especially since we had a third person in the car. I mean, it was like Tetris every
I will
time we
insert a clip.
needed anything. So it was hard to store food and access it and keep it cold because we had a cooler, but the ice would melt in a day or two.
And still wouldn't keep it cool. Like it was still like
Well,
maybe keep it cool, but not cool.
it was in it. Anyway, so food was challenging. We had a lot of dried. We went to Costco before we left, so we had a bunch of dried fruit, a bunch of dried nuts, and a bunch of beef jerky. And that kind of kept us alive. And then we just sporadically have now that would make us meals that are tasty.
Really tasty. Yeah.
So we'll see if that continues at all. It's just us. But food was a challenge, and yeah, we just had a lot of dried food, which honestly didn't taste good, but got the job done.
It wasn't like. Yeah. It
They're
wasn't
all
that bad.
They're all tasty things,
Yeah.
but when you eat them day in, day out, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, then they become less tasty. But yeah, I'm
Well, I
excited to
think
have one there.
It definitely did help because I don't think it was like breakfast and lunch. Like I would say 70-80% of the time it was breakfast and lunch.
Yeah,
And then you'd
sure.
have something else
Yeah.
almost every time for dinner,
Yeah.
which I do feel like helped a lot. So I think that's gonna be something we're gonna have to try to keep going. Because I don't really mind it for 2 meals. And for breakfast you can kind of maybe find a little bit something different, but I think having it 3 times a day is just not ideal. Yeah.
About it.
About it. That's how we did food. Really, I guess I think that's the last like specific thing I want to talk about probably. Overall, for me, I think it's important, at least for my personality, to come into things with a very low, or not even low, just like not many expectations. Like came with the expectation that we're gonna play disc golf and hang out, and that's about it. So like, but I do feel like I was pleasantly surprised by how easy it was. Like, definitely, there were some challenging parts of the trip, but I slept really well. I felt like I ate really well. Like I was just really fed, and I had a lot of like energy throughout the day to play disc golf and just to do other things in general. And I just feel like everything went really smoothly for the most part, which I think, I don't know. I think it was just simple, which is really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice to take all the distractions out and just eat, sleep,
And play.
play.
Yeah. What else do we want to talk about? I think that's about it. Yeah. I'll try to add some pictures and some videos maybe, so you guys can kind of get a little bit more of a grasp on what's actually we're talking about. But yeah, that's it. If you guys have anything you'd like for us to talk about, any ideas, we'd love to do some. Until next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.